Who am I talking to?
Laurie Whitnell.
So how long have you been over this group, Laurie?
It's been about 7 years, roughly. We started out kind of slow. I was going to nursing school and trying to raise a family, and so been pretty busy with all of that. I started writing when I was 15. Didn't think it was any good. Kind of regret thinking that, but started writing again in my 30s, and became a member of the NSAI when I decided I wanted to try out at the Bluebird Cafe. We are a local chapter. If you ever want to participate in trying out at the Bluebird, you either have to live within a 100-mile radius of it, or you have to be a member of the NSAI to audition.
How far away is our region from?
Well, it's in Nashville, so about 150 probably. But it's been a good thing to be involved with. You can go down to Nashville and do a pitch to publish, or every Thursday evening they have something different going on. So for me, writing is a hobby. It's not a quote music business or a job. It's just more of a passion.
Gotcha. And how long have y'all been having the meetings here at the library?
Going on about 3 years. Yep. And about a year ago, Charles Berryhill became our co-coordinator with me, so we're both coordinators, and he's been very helpful. Always has good ideas, and I appreciate his help very much. So,
if I remember correctly, you were in a band at one time?
I was actually. I kind of did some vocals with a local group several years ago, and we actually played out at Quint's Barn. That was back in the 90s.
Some time ago.
Yeah, the late 90s, the early 2000s. So really enjoyed playing out with them. We'd go to different local get-togethers and play out.
Okay. Somebody wanted to learn about songwriting, you just encourage them to come here to the meetings?
Yep, they can join us every third Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Metropolis Library, or they can email or call me. My information is posted on the Nashville Songwriters website under the local chapters. All they have to do is scroll down and click on Southern Illinois chapter, and we'll pop right up.
Okay.
If the world was a jukebox spinning round and round, you wouldn't believe that crazy hi-fi sound. I'd walk right up and I'd push play. My favorite song would be This Day, 'cause it was all you. It was so right. Norman Rockwell, beautiful, best day of my life. It was all good, it was just right. Falling in love all day long, wish I could play it over like a song. Ooh.
Mark Donham.
From Massac County?
No, I'm actually from Pope.
From Pope, okay.
But it's very close to the Massac County line. It's South Pope, which is, Pope County doesn't acknowledge us, and Massac County doesn't acknowledge us, but they call us South Pope. It's a different thing. And I've been a member of NSAI on and off for a while, and I met these guys when we had a group in Western Kentucky.
Yes.
And it was the Western Kentucky Songwriters Association. And that was a pretty active group for a while, and there was a lot of people who come to meetings, and we had a number of songwriters, professional songwriters, come up from Nashville and do workshops with us and give us demonstrations and such. And I just have always been, I started writing songs when I was 14, and I've developed more and more of an interest in it. And when my wife passed away 3.5 years ago, I've always been, ever since as long as I can remember, interested and fascinated with loving music. And so, and have always been in music, but I figure for the last part of my life, I'm going to really try to focus on it and take it serious and take it and I work at it really hard every day. I write and I practice and I play in 2 bands and I do some solo shows around, and I am trying to do regular recordings, and I've been writing a lot. I've written a lot of songs, and this latest recording session that I had with my brother and a drummer from Nashville, and Josh Coffey and Jake Seener, who operate the Time on a String studio, and the 5 of us did a live recording, basically. And so I knew that Lori was starting to have these meetings here, and I just decided to come and see what was going on. And it's a small group, but I've gotten to know Charles and Henry Moore, and gotten to know Lori, because I remember talking to Lori, seeing her at the meetings more, but for a while she was meeting and I didn't come for a while, and then I came and I liked the group, and I try to come if I'm not doing anything on the 3rd Thursday.
And how long have you been coming to the meetings?
This group, a couple of years now,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I was coming and I'd let my membership with NSAI go, and then it came down to where somebody had to join or the group was going to go away, because Charles and Lori were members, but that wasn't enough. You couldn't just have the coordinators be members. You had to have at least one member to have a group. And so I went ahead and joined. And then I think Justin joined.
Yes, joined.
And so we actually do have. Are you an NSI?
No, I'm the holdout.
But we do have 2 besides the coordinators, so we have 4 members. It's is it $200 a year
Henry's
to
a
join?
rebel.
It's $200 a year to be a member of the NSAI. And if you do it on time, monthly, like me, it actually is $240 a year. And so, their best function, I believe, is the lobbying, because songwriters have traditionally had to scrap for getting money for their work, and they have organized, and the NSAI is sort of a result of all of that, and they have enough clout that they can go to Washington and lobby for legislation for getting, and there just was a major bill passed
big bill
in the last year that, and I don't know what all the details about it, I have not read it yet, but it has to do with the electronic distribution.
how songwriters are paid.
Yes.
They were getting paid based off of 1900, 1910 something rules, and things have obviously changed. It's 2019 and things are digital, and people go online and they download music, and the writer and the artist were getting cheated out of what their due was. So, like you said, the NSA, I fought for that and won, helped win.
They're one of the major lobbyists for songwriters' rights. So, that's the main reason why. And then they do run the Bluebird Cafe now, and I like to go down there and perform once in a while. It's very exciting, and so there were times when I let my membership lapse, and nobody ever asked me when I called in to see if I could get another date whether I was still a member of NSAI. But since I joined to help keep this group going, I have kept my membership going. So
And we appreciate that very much.
I may have played this one here already.
We forgive you.
The sun is going down. I'm looking out my window. Things are fading into night. I sit alone with a single light. A buck with antlers goes walking by. I hear an owl and I see it fly. I told her I won't sit and cry. If nothing else, I'll always try. I'm gonna try. Soar like an eagle, gonna try. Shine in the night, gonna try. Make good on my deals, gonna try to do it all right.
Henry Brazel. Well, I was from Clinton, but I just recently moved to Paducah.
Okay.
I've been coming about 3 years. I started playing guitar when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, like everybody else in the 60s. Then I got married, had kids, started working, and actually started working, then got married. And I kind of let it lapse for 30-some years. And when I retired, I thought I needed a hobby. I figured it was cheaper than a sports car and safer than an affair, so I started playing guitar again. Actually, my wife played too, and she got me into playing again. Writing, I was sitting there thinking, I guess I dabbled in writing kind of before when I was younger. But the way I think the first song that I remember writing after I retired and started playing again is I was working, volunteering Relay for Life, and they have this thing where a team is supposed to write a song, and they give so many words, and you're supposed to work these words. And well, the typical pattern is you take a song, like a pop song, and you just change the words up. So our team asked me to come up with a song, and anything that I could play, I couldn't think of figuring out the words to go in the song, and anything I could figure out the words to go to the song, I couldn't play. So kind of like John Prine said, I just found it easier to write my own song. So that's one of the first songs I wrote was for Relay. Then right after that, and I can't remember his name, but there was an associate professor at Murray who had played drums for Alabama and done publishing and songwriting. And he gave a nighttime, 3 or 4 night weeks in a row, songwriting class. And that's where NSAI group here actually sprung from. Because after the first group went through his class, and then we were in the second, my wife and I went, somebody in the first group said, well, this is great, this class, but we need something to keep going. So they started a songwriters group. He used to meet once a week at the library in Murray. And then he kind of disappeared, and I think Janet, who was in that group, started the NSAI, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're correct.
And affiliated with them. And then I play like at nursing homes and senior citizens, and wherever Charles gets me hooked into playing, Columbus Park, and we actually played at Burger Theory a couple times.
We did. forgot about that.
Then, once I hooked up with Charles through the Arts Council in Hickman County, and we got more into writing and playing. I'm not a member of NSAI because I don't see this as being a professional thing for me. I don't expect to sell any songs or put out any hit records like Charles. Hey, you're on my shelf right next to the Beatles. What can I say?
Honored spot.
He's blushing.
It's right in it.
We all came together on a cool moonlit night, sharing our memories in the soft candlelight, with hope in the air and our feet on the ground. Wherever you were, there was love all around. But we must all take care of each other as we travel through this life. We've been given to live, with God or fate, or just the luck of the draw. There may be someone somewhere who needs what only you can give.
Very good.
Charles Berryhill. For all the way since I grew up in the 60s, early 60s with the Beatles, I've always wanted to write songs. I've always dreamed of having my name under the title of a song on a 45 RPM record as it was spinning. I used to sit in class with, what's that thing with a point on it that has a pencil on it?
Compass.
A compass. And I would draw instead of paying attention. In algebra and history, I was drawing 7-inch 45 RPM records and making up song titles and putting my name under it as the writer. But it took me 20 years to write my first song. I didn't really realize where I got the passion from, but I actually got it from my grandfather. My grandfather died when I was 10 months old, and he played the fiddle. And I have no memories of him playing the fiddle at all. I have his fiddle now. And so as I get older, I suddenly realize that one of these days I'm not going to be here. And I've written several songs. And I thought, well, when I'm gone, those songs are lost forever. I thought, well, to make my own CDs and to write my songs, I am passing on to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren who have not been born yet, that they can reach back into my generation and touch me, just like I wished I could reach back and touch into my grandfather. And so that has been the spur and influence. And it's been pointed out here, I do have a couple of CDs. I just recently did my second CD. I recorded it in Echo Records in Clarksville, Tennessee. I'd rather spend the remainder of the time talking more about NSAI, if you don't mind. First of all, coming to the NSAI meetings has encouraged me to continue to write and to say, well, hey, Mark came out with a song last month and played a new song. I need to get a song up this month so that I can keep up with Mark, so to speak. But to be a member of NSAI, there's several advantages. As Laurie pointed out at the beginning, you get to play it at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville. You have to be a member to do that. But you also you can submit a certain number of your songs to NSAI for evaluation each year. You can also go down and you get a certain number of personal evaluations with a noted individual that's in the music industry. For example, I've been down, and I don't know if people know him or not. A lot of the people that are involved in the music industry are not the ones that you focus on when you're watching the Grand Ole Opry or the Country Music Awards, such as Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn and Merle Haggard or Alan Jackson. There are a lot of people like Tommy Barnes, who wrote Indian Outlaw for Tim McGraw and sold millions of copies. but Tim McGraw's name, I'm not Tim McGraw, but Tommy Barnes' name is not commonly known. Or Bobby Keel, who wrote Need a Little Time Off for Bad Behavior, which Confederate Railroad sold 5 million copies. And so these are people that I do know, and I have met these people through NSAI because of my participation with it, and I have built personal relationships. Yeah, there's a few country stars that I've had the opportunity to meet in the process. I got to know Guy Clark. I've gotten to know Ray Wiley Hubbard very well, and yeah, those are probably not common names unless you get out there, get out of the mainstream of country. When of Loretta and Dolly is what I'm calling the mainstream. But there's lots of advantages for being in NSAI. You get to be around people that enjoy writing. Sometimes we just sit here and jam on a song. We've actually written together right here. I don't think we've ever done anything with anything of it, just for the fun of it. But that's.
He died when I was 3 years old. I remember very little. I know we planted an apple tree, and I know we played the fiddle. I said beneath that apple tree, screamed about that man, for the tunes that fiddle used to play, never hear again. Now the apple tree's a memory, the fiddle longs to play. For now I'm bound to hang around to carry on his name.